But that's true for every single one of us in our life. We have all developed and acquired skills and understandings and parts of our consciousness that will allow us to do what it is that we've come here to do and to do something unique in the world. And I think Michael's story is a great example of that we can apply in our own life experience. I know that, in my own journey, my journey has been more, there wasn't one moment when I shifted. I went from one side to the other. It was more of a steady sort of process of beginning to learn and grow and develop the things that I needed to develop in my life. I know my daughter, Bridget, who's my oldest daughter, she's in her 30s, and she has a daughter, Kayla, who's, she'll be 11 in November. And Bridget calls me up this week, and she says, and she sends me an email that her daughter's father, it's the best way I can describe him, because they never did get married, so her daughter's father sent Bridget that was derogatory. I mean, it was just really bad. It was like just really dumping on her and and he decided he was going to change the custody agreement back to the agreement that was in place in 2003 when Kayla was like kindergarten, And so Bridget, calls me up, and she actually was pretty calm. Normally she gets pretty wound up about this kind of stuff, And so I said, well, let me think about it a little bit. And so I wrote her back and I said, well, here's the thing that I see. I said, number one, I said, he's a bully. He's using bullying tactic. He's trying to degrade you in order to get what he wants. Somewhere in his life he learned that. Whether growing up, I don't know where he learned it, but he learned that it's worked for him. And I said, what you do with a bully is you punch him in the nose. That's what I learned to do to deal with bullies, is to punch him in. Now, not necessarily go up to him and punch him in the nose, although she would have liked to. Okay, but I said, the way you punch someone in the nose is you say no. And then you say, and then you might comment that it's inappropriate to, in other words, speak to the issue. It is inappropriate to use this kind of language and berating of me in order to get what it is that you think that you want. And so I'm willing to talk about it, but no. And she did that, and the response was entirely, he was willing to go to mediation. They have a free mediation thing, and to talk about it. And you could just see that she felt empowered. That for her it was a moment of stepping up into her power and saying, no. And then holding a space of calmness and being willing to speak the truth clearly and kindly without using the same tactics because that's our normal response, is we want to name call back, don't we? Well, you jerk, whatever it is that we want to say that back. But if we stand in the presence of our experience and speak back into that field, we change the whole dynamic. We create transformational possibilities for ourselves and perhaps for others, because he'll find out now that doesn't work. That maybe it's time for him to look at what's been going on in his life and how he can step up in a different way. Michael Beckworth says that involution is the prototype inherent within someone or something. Involution is what's already there. Evolution is a byproduct of involution. A maple tree seed is involute. It already carries the prototype of the tree. Nothing needs to be added, subtracted, or changed within the seed itself to prepare it to sprout. Evolution is the seed becoming more of itself over time. So involution is what is already within us. And we already have everything within us that we need. We have everything that we need right now within us. It's involute in us. And that all we are doing, all evolution is doing, is allowing us or giving us the opportunity to bring that forth from within us into expression. So we're already whole and perfect and fully equipped in principle to do what it is that we have come here to do, or to be what it is that we choose to be. So we are not evolving into something, we are evolving out of something. Do you hear that? We're not evolving into something, we're evolving out of something. The evolution is the expression of that outward. And so we think of evolution as everything changing, but that's the only thing that's changing is what's coming out into expression in our world. So we are already enough, and all we are doing is becoming more of ourselves. That's all that's happening in our life. Michael Beckworth says that there are basically 7 signs or characteristics or expressions of an evolved person. An evolved person is not somebody that's up here on a higher ladder. An evolved person is simply somebody who is aware that they are in that process of bringing forth into the world what is already there to bring forth. Okay? So he said there's 7 behaviors, practices of the evolved person. Evolved people, this is the first one, evolved people, now there's probably more than 7. So I don't want to limit us to 7, but 7's good. Okay? Evolved people are grateful for what others most take for granted. Evolved people are grateful for what most take for granted. Evolved people are grateful for the air we breathe, for the beauty that is around us, for the things that others simply, it's a part of their world. But an evolved person is grateful because gratitude is always present within them. There's this whole experience and feeling of gratitude. Meister Eckhart observed once that a person can most be defined by his or her attitude toward gratitude. If the only prayer you said in your whole life was thank you, it would suffice. It would be enough if you just said thank you. Because when we say thank you, we recognize that it's already all there. And we're just calling it forth through gratitude. The second thing about evolved people is that evolved people give without agenda. That they recognize that they're in this flow of life energy, that it's moving all around them, and that I sort of visualize it as like I'm just stepping into the flow. Just take a step and the river is moving. And so it's coming to me and it's moving from me. And so we recognize that we're in that river. And so we can't give it away fast enough because it's coming to us as fast or faster than we're giving it away. If you imagine standing in a stream and trying to give the water away faster than it's coming. And so when we see that as our life force, then we are giving without agenda. We don't worry about why we're giving, we just give. We give good thoughts, good feelings, good wishes, we give love, we give energy, we give whatever it is that we need to give. We give and we give it willingly because we live in an opulent universe. And it affirms that we are a regenerative being, that it's always coming, it's always flowing. We're not standing, giving and shrinking. We're growing the more we give. Evolved people, and this is kind of an interesting one, evolved people race to see who can forgive first. Now, I don't think forgiveness is a contest or a race of any kind, but when you think of it in the context of recognizing that perhaps you were involved in some circumstance where you might need to forgive yourself and forgive that you would be the first to step up and do that. That you would immediately recognize it and you'd immediately go through whatever process you needed to go through in order to forgive yourself and forgive the circumstances or the situation or the other person involved, and you do it quickly. Evolved people race to experience forgiveness because evolved people know that everything that they need is already within them anyway. Why do they need to condemn another in that context?